Yo, 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 welcome back. Damn you two sports talk. It's your boy Ralph Sneaks. Back for another episode, man. This is what, episode 27. Um, Shout out to everybody who's been tuning in so far, subscribers. Appreciate it. If you haven't done so, it's scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. Head over to YouTube. Uh, Subscribe to the content. So hit the notification bell so you can get notified when new content releases. You can follow me on IG damn underscore YouTube underscore sports talk, or if you want to follow me personally, it's Ralph underscore sneaks. Um, damn YouTube sports talk over on X. If you want to follow over there, I'll follow back. Appreciate the love y'all been showing so far, man. Continue to head over to those social media platforms, subscribe, make sure y'all hit the notification bell so you can get notified when new content releases. But back with another episode, man. NBA tipped off last night. We had two games. Um, we had the Lakers and the Timberwolves. Then we had the Knicks and the Celtics. That tipped the season off. Um, but I'm gonna get into a little bit shortly my predictions for the Eastern Western Conference of the NBA. We had a lot of moving pieces. Oh, well, we had some moving pieces. Some trades. We had a shift, not just trades within the conference, but we had a shift of trades from one conference to the other. Along with some pretty solid draft picks in this previous draft, 2024 draft. So I'm gonna get into my predictions, from the Eastern Western Conference 1 through 10. Give you a little breakdown of why I picked, who I picked to finish, why I picked them to finish. Couple coaches in the mix now, respectfully, with new teams. So, like I said, man, 2 games last night kicked off the NBA season. You had the Knicks and the Celtics. You had Boston beat New York 132-109. As I stated before, we had some trades, and this was one of the teams that made a trade, the New York Knicks. Of course, they traded for Karl Anthony Towns. They shipped out Dante DiVincenzo. They shipped out Julius Randle. I think the first round pick was attached, but there was another player, but I can't remember his name. And but that trade happened. And last night those two teams played the first of the first game of the season. Like I said, it was Boston handing New York the L's 132-109. Let's look at something here. Well, first of all, let me just say this. The Boston Celtics, they didn't make any moves. They running the exact same team back, for the exception of them going out and getting I think they had Lonnie Walker. But they're just more for depth. You know what I mean? But pretty much they brought the same guy, the same team is back. Extended the guys, brought the guys back. They came back with the mentality of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's exactly what they did. They brought the same team back. They basically saying that, we are the champs. If you want to beat us, you're gonna have to adjust to us. We're not gonna make moves to fix something that's not broke. So if you want to beat us, you got to make the adjustments and make the moves and deals and do whatever you got to do on your end to beat us. But we're going to run back what won us the chip last year. And we're going to, we're going for it again this year. So if you want to beat us, you're going to have to make adjustments, make trades, make deals, do whatever you got to do to beat us. But this is what we're going to run back what won us the chip last year. So you make the adjustments and the moves you need to make on your end to try to beat us, because we just going to run back what won it for us last year. So that's basically what Boston did. And they came out, made a statement in game one, 132-109 over the Knicks. If you look at the New York Knicks, you lose Hardenstein, you lose Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo. You lose those guys, and those guys were with you last season when I think you finished second seed in the East last year. To bring in Karl Anthony Towns. A big man that can stretch the floor. So basically the Knicks, OG Anunoby, you really don't look at him as like that type of offensive player, but he got paid. He got his money. 5 year, 212 million. I think that's what he got. 212 and a half, something like that to be exact. So Tibbs is defensively they very versatile. So it's basically a chess match. I think the Boston Celtics got the better offensive players. So the Knicks, in my opinion, countered that by getting better defensively. They just want to stay with defensive versatility, not bringing in bringing in defensive versatility. But I'm saying when you brought in Mikal Bridges, you now have defensive versatility because you now have Hart because you lost DiVincenzo. So Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges, they basically can switch off on whoever they need to switch off on. So that's 3 of the 5 in the rotation that can switch off on anybody who they need to switch off on. And some of it might be a mismatch, but it won't be a mismatch by much. Of course, it's going to be a mismatch when you got a 7-footer going up against a 6'8" guy. That's a numbers measurement wise, that's a mismatch. But these guys play good enough defense. If you OG Anunoby that you could, not saying that you're going to put up with that for the entirety of the game, but if that's a mismatch that happens on a possession or two during the game, you can live with that because those guys are good enough offenders that they can make those, make the shots tough to the point where they probably can miss those shot attempts. If you get what I'm saying? So that's basically what the Knicks, they had to counter some kind of way with defensive versatility, and I think that's just what the Knicks were doing anyway, with Tibbs being the head coach. They were always going to be a defense first team, and then, when he got Karl Anthony Towns, a scoring big man that could shoot the ball from the perimeter. So, I think this could be the matchup that we're looking at in the Eastern Conference Finals right here. You know what I mean? Depending on how the numbers and everything shake up and, how it all play out. We can't tell now because injuries, we don't know when injuries going to happen until injuries happen. But if everything goes accordingly, both of these teams stay relatively healthy, I think both of these teams, this could be the Eastern Conference Finals matchup right here, the Celtics and the Knicks. It's just, to me, for the Celtics, I don't think they can afford to lose anybody. And if they do lose anybody, it can't be for a long period of time. It has to be like a little knick-knack injury, but, an injury is an injury. But I just don't think the Boston Celtics have the depth if they get hit with the injury bug. And when I say get hit with the injury bug, I'm not talking about when you're going to miss a game or two here and there. I'm talking about an injury where you're going to be missing a month, or more. They can't have multiple injuries like that because I don't think they real top heavy. They don't have enough depth to kind of sustain that top seed. You know what I'm saying? They definitely gonna be. I'm not saying they're gonna fall out the playoffs or nothing like that. I mean, everybody on the team got to get hurt for a situation like that to happen. But I'm saying to sustain that 1 or 2 seed in the East. If they get hit with an injury bug to Tatum or Brown, or they got hit with the injury bug with Porzingis, but they were able to overcome that. But if they get hit with the injury bug, if Tatum or Brown get hit with the injury bug and they got to miss significant time like Porzingis did, then and don't let it happen where those guys are missing time together. What I mean? If one missed time and then they'll come back, another one get hurt, that's much better than both of those guys missing significant time at the same time. So if something like that happened, I think that's the only thing that can kind of derail the Boston Celtics from being at the top of the East. And like I said, man, last night was just a preview, in my opinion, of what these two teams are going to be at the end of the season. And I think that was just a preview of the Eastern Conference Finals last night in Boston in the Garden. But we also had another game last night. We had the Lakers beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think the LA Lakers, if they have any chance of not being a 9th seed, I think the way Anthony Davis played last night, he got to sustain that play throughout the entirety of the season, including injuries. He's got to avoid injuries, and that ain't been something that he's been able to do for a vast majority of his career in the league, going back to his New Orleans days. You know what I'm saying? So if they have any chance of finishing higher than a ninth seed, in my opinion, this is the way Anthony Davis has to play. And I always said that I think it's at the point in LeBron's career that he should no longer be the number one guy carrying the team. But if you can get another guy to come in and carry the team and be the number one and LeBron be the number two, not because LeBron is falling off, because LeBron's still playing at a high level. I think it's 21st year in the league, still playing at a high level. So not LeBron fall back as a number two because his lack of play is falling off. But I'm saying that there should be another guy that can come in younger than LeBron that can play at a high level and be the number one option and be the guy that the team can lean on. And LeBron can just fall back from being that guy to being the number two guy. I think the Lakers will have a much, much better chance of doing some damage if that happens. But if you can't get Anthony Davis to consistently play like this throughout the season and stay healthy, then I don't, you're going to be looking at Lakers as a 9-10, possibly not even making the playoffs. Because if you look at the other guys that they have, there's not really much or nothing that they to the team outside of their draft picks in Bronny James and Dalton Knecht. So, Austin Reeves, he was there last year. Hachimura was there last year. D'Lo was there last year. Jackson Hayes was there last year. And like I said, Gabe Vincent, he was there. Outside of Bronny James and Dalton Knecht, the two guys that you drafted that weren't there, Jared Vanderbilt was there. You didn't add nothing. You know what I mean? Cam Reddish was there. So you didn't add nothing but the two draft picks. You know what I'm saying? And there were attempts where you probably did try to go out and make a move and make a deal to bring somebody else in, but you didn't. So if you are the LA Lakers, you have to have AD be that number one option. AD has to be available, and AD has to be consistently playing like this throughout the season for the Lakers to have any chance to climb out of that 9-10 spot or possibly not even making the playoffs if they don't do that. Because I'm about to get into it with my East-West predictions. The Western Conference is deep. It's tough. You know what I'm saying? So, you're going to have a team, and I'm going to give you my surprise team that I think will sneak in the play-in from both the East and the West. So, like I said, man, if the LA Lakers want to have any chance of getting out of that 9-10 hole, this is how they have to play throughout the season. And I got a funny feeling that, with J.J. Redick being the head coach, and that's going to be another blunder because I think they're going to put too much emphasis and too much spotlight on trying to showcase Bronny James with LeBron to the point where it's going to cost them some games. And those games that's going to cost them is going to be putting them in a bind at the end of the season or coming down to the stretch of the season as far as seeding and positioning is concerned. You know what I'm saying? So, Bronny got in last night. I think he played about 3-4 minutes or whatever, but, and that's not a lot of time at all. But I think it's just going to be so much emphasis on LeBron and Bronny's situation and playing them together and getting the minutes. And that was just the first game of the season. So, they're going to add more minutes to Bronny in the rotation as the season goes. So I think it's going to be a lot of a focal point on putting him and LeBron out there on the floor together, not just for 3 minutes, but putting them out there on the floor together for some minutes and longer than 3 or 4 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of eyes and a lot of spotlight is going to be on that, J.J. Redick. And, I think that he's there to do that. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, I don't see no other reason to hire J.J. Redick as your head coach, especially when you're trying to contend and you're still trying to win with LeBron James on your roster. You know what I mean? It's just some type of script that was written that J.J. Redick got to go by. But I ain't gonna get into all that. That's for another. I already did a video on that, but that's another topic for discussion at a later time and date once we start seeing this stuff unravel as the season goes. But man, let me get into these predictions. East and Western Conference predictions for the season. Like I said, first game tipped off. Majority of the league is going to play tonight, but those were the only 2 games that tipped off the season last night. Majority of everybody else is going to play tonight or tomorrow. But let's get into these Eastern Conference predictions. The number 1 seed, I got Boston Celtics. Joe Mazzulla head coaching over there. They finished the first seed last year. Like I said, they pretty much brought the team back with a if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. Extended Tatum and Derek White. Signed Lonnie Walker as a free agent to add depth over there. So last night we just basically seen that we the champs. We bringing back the same thing that won us the chip last year, and we comfortable with that, and we're not changing that. If you want to beat it, you got to make adjustments on your end to counter what we doing, and we just, bringing back the team that won us the chip. So as a result, last night you seen that they opened up with a win over the New York Knicks at home. So I got the Boston Celtics finishing 1. And I'm like I said, injury bug could hit them, and if they hit them, I don't think they're going to be quite deep enough to sustain that 1 seed. They're going to drop, some spots because I think the first maybe 4, 5 seeds in the East is going to be kind of tight. It's going to be a little separation from, the 1 and 2 is going to be a little separated from the 3 through 5, but the 3 through 5 is not going to be far behind, at all. So I think it's going to be kind of tight, and so yeah, I got Boston finishing number 1 in the East. Number 2, I got the New York Knicks, coached by Tibbs, finished 2nd seed last year. Like I said, they traded for Mikal Bridges. They traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. They parted ways with Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo on the first-round pick as part of that trade to bring in Cat. They re-signed OG Anunoby, 5-year, $212 million deal. They extended Jalen Brunson, 4-year, $156 million, in which they should be thinking and sending that man bottles of champagne every day, because Jalen Brunson could have waited until the offseason and got over $100 million more on a contract extension. But he took the 4-year, $156.5 million extension, in which it could have been, damn near 300, if not 300, if he had waited to next offseason, summer 2025, and did the extension for 5 instead of 4, and could have got over $100 million more. So it would have been close to $300 million. So, like I said, if you the New York Knicks, you should be thanking that man, sending that man bottles of whatever champagne he wants on a daily basis throughout the duration of this deal. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I got the New York Knicks finishing 2nd. Like I said, man, they very defensive. The defensive versatility there is up there. Like I said, 3 of the 5 guys in the starting rotation can switch off on anybody. Even in the OG Anunoby deal, last year you lost RJ Barrett, you lost Emmanuel Quickly, you lost those guys. Like I said, Julius Randle, DiVincenzo in the first-round pick, they were gone in the trade to Minnesota for Karl-Anthony. You traded Mikal Bridges for a bunch of picks. So much for the Villanova connection, because Dante DiVincenzo was out. Mikal Bridges in, Dante DiVincenzo out. So much for the Villanova connection. You lost one Villanova connection, you got another one. So I guess you still want to have that type of connection there from Villanova. You can do that. But all 3 are not there. So yeah, give me the Knicks. Got them finishing 2, 2nd in the Eastern Conference. 3rd, I got the Cleveland Cavaliers finishing. New head coach Kenny Atkinson. They finished 4th seed last year with J.B. Bickerstaff as the head coach, which I still don't understand why J.B. Bickerstaff got fired and they moved off of him. But they moved off of him. They hired Kenny Atkinson. He's the new guy in charge over there as the head coach is concerned. They extended Donovan Mitchell, gave him 3-year extension on his deal. They signed Evan Mobley, 5-year, $224 million. Extended Jared Allen, 3-year, $91 million, and re-signed Isaac Okoro, 3-year, $38 million. So they basically got the same team back. Plus the additions of the draft picks. You know what I mean? But I think Cleveland is one of them teams that they've gotten better. You know what I'm saying? They've gotten better. They're young. They got guys they can they can score the ball. Evan Mobley is getting better. Has gotten better. And if you look at the Cleveland Cavs, they still have room to add to this team. Because you got Jared Allen on a 3-year extended deal. So whenever he's eligible to be traded, you still have that piece in your back pocket, because there were sources that came out and said that they were putting Jared Allen on the trade block And the reason being is they wanted to open it up more for Evan Mobley. And Evan Mobley got his 5-year, $224 million deal. So you still have Jared Allen that you could move. And Isaac Okoro, you didn't re-sign him early in free agency. You didn't re-sign him until later on in free agency. So I'm not sure how they viewing or eyeing Isaac Okoro right now with the future of this team. But Isaac Okoro at the time in that he got re-signed, which, like I said, wasn't early in free agency. It was later on in free agency. I'm looking at that like maybe they re-sign him to add him as a trade piece at some point during the season, when he's eligible to be traded. So they got flexibility as far as, some guys that they can move. That's under contract, not guys that they're going to move that has to be paid or looking for a deal. So whoever trades for these guys, if they make these guys available, these guys will be coming already under contract, not coming looking to get a contract. They already have one. So that would make it real interesting and real good for the Cleveland Cavaliers if someone becomes available at the deadline that they want to continue, that they want to land. They got pieces that they could, in their back pocket that they could move to make deals. So, yeah, I got the Cleveland Cavs finishing third in the East. Like I said, they finished fourth last season, so not too much of a difference. They just up, one seeded spot from last season. Coming in fourth, I got the Philadelphia 76ers. Some people have Philly higher than four, but I got them at four, especially after Embiid just came out and made the comment about not playing back-to-backs this season. And then you got to combine that with his injury history already. Paul George is already injured. So and he has an injury history as well. Nick Nurse, they finished 7th seed last year. They extended Embiid 3-year, $192 million max extension. They signed Paul George in free agency, 4-year, $212 million deal. They signed Tyrese Maxey, 5-year, $204 million. They signed Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon. They drafted Jared McCain out of Duke and signed Caleb Martin. They came over from, I think it was the Miami Heat. So they got a pretty solid team. If you the Sixers, it's just that the two guys that you depending on to play a big part in your season are injury-prone guys, and Embiid and Paul George, and Embiid being one that said he's going to not be playing back-to-backs. Now, I'm not sure how long that's going to go and work. He's saying what he's saying, but is that really going to be throughout the duration of the season? If so, that's why I got the Philadelphia 76ers finishing fourth in the East. Like I said, they got a nice roster. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something about Philly that they just can't get over the hump. I don't know what it is, but they just can't get over the hump. They can't get to the finals. They can't get to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's not like the Philadelphia 76ers can't get over one particular team or get past one particular team. There's several teams that came in, beat the Philadelphia 76ers, and has went further into the playoffs than the Sixers. Boston did it, Toronto did it, Miami did it, Atlanta did it. These are teams that have came in, beat Philly, and went beyond what the Sixers have done in the playoffs. So maybe this the year, maybe it ain't. You know what I mean? And then you're looking at what the moves that those top two teams that I mentioned a few minutes ago, Boston and New York did. Boston, the champs, bringing back the same team, and the Knicks making a deal for Carl Anthony and bringing in Mikal Bridges. So I don't know if it's going to be the Sixers year either. But I got them finishing fourth, which is better than what they finished last year as a 7th seed. So yeah, I got Philly finishing fourth here. The Indiana Pacers. This is where I got the Pacers at. I got them finishing behind Philly in the 5th seed. Rick Carlisle head coaching them 6th seed last year is what they finished. They signed the former number 2 pick, James Wiseman. You know what I mean? Wiseman is now becoming like a journeyman. People still view him as having some type of potential. I think that's the reason why, Indiana picked him up, because they could utilize him not to be that guy, but I guess they view him as having enough potential to be a depth piece to do what they need him to do in Indy, and not need him to do more than that, because he's already proven that he's probably not going to live up to being number 2 overall pick hype. So, taking a chance on him, it's not bad for the Indiana Pacers at all. Re-signed Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin, extended T.J. McConnell, Andrew Nembhard. Benedict Mathurin, returns from a season-ending injury he had. I think he tore his labrum sometime after the All-Star break, but that was a season-ending injury, so he should be back. some point early on in this season. Not sure exactly when, but he should be back. So, like I said, he finished sixth last year. I got him bumping up a spot to the fifth seed this year. I think that's just one of them teams that you don't really look at like you look at these other, top teams that I just named, because they don't really have those star-studded players, but they have those players that they fit what they do. They just go out and play. You don't look at that team and be like, that's a star player, that's a star player. They just got players that do what they do, and then it results in winning. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I got the Pacers finishing fifth. They just a scrappy team. You know what I'm saying? All the way, I thought that if the Indiana Pacers wanted to explore the option of doing similar to what the Minnesota Timberwolves did with running two bigs, the way Minnesota had Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony, I thought that they were going to go out and possibly get another big to play alongside in the starting rotation with Miles Turner, since Miles Turner seems to be, in my opinion, he doesn't get enough rebounds like he should. I think Miles Turner should be averaging more rebounds than he gets. And I think is the reason why he's not getting those rebounds is because he plays more so on the big on the perimeter. He shoots the three ball. He plays out on the perimeter, but he's a big. So being that far away from the basket, that lessens your chance at rebounds. So if him playing that far away from the basket, that's why he's not getting as many rebounds as I think he should be getting. So that's why I added them going out and probably doing what Minnesota did with adding another big that plays more so around the rim so they can grab more boards and and dominate more in the paint, with Miles Turner playing that far away from the basket. You know what I mean? That could be a 4-5, in the front court right there. But, maybe they do something like that with James Wiseman. But I'm not sure. But I got the Indiana Pacers finishing the season as the fifth seed. They up one seed from where they finished last year as a sixth seed. So sixth seed this year, basically I got them flip-flop. I got the Orlando Magic finishing sixth. Jamal Mosley, head coaching, they finished fifth seed last year. Like I said, I got them in Indiana flipping seeds this year. Orlando signed Caldwell Pope 3 year, $66 million deal. Extended Franz Wagner 5 year, $224 million deal. Banchero, those guys are only going to get better. And just like the Cleveland Cavs, I think they have a couple pieces that they can move at the trade deadline to get better. You look at the backcourt in Orlando, they deep in the backcourt, so they can afford to move one of those guards. You got Cole Anthony there, you got Jalen Suggs there, and you got Anthony Black there. And now you just brought in Caldwell Pope. So you have a guard or point guard that you can move, or combo guard, because those guys can play both the 1 and 2 that I just named for in the backcourt. So if you want to move one of those combo guards along with a pick or something to get another player in there that's going to help push this team forward, I think they have that in their back pocket that they can explore leading up to the trade deadline. So like I said, Orlando just one of them teams that has something in their back pocket that they could use at the trade deadline to get better. Now those, I'm not sure when Cole Anthony's coming up for a deal, but that's going to be the issue. A team that trades for him, are they looking at Cole Anthony to give him the type of money that he's looking at, or whoever they decide to move? You know what I'm saying? But they have depth in the backcourt, so if that's the route they want to go, they can move one of those backcourt pieces to get better somewhere else. Wendell Carter, so is there. So, what I mean? They got options because they got young backcourt depth that could be utilized somewhere else. So if they want to go that route, they could definitely go that route. So I got the Orlando Magic finishing at 6. The 7th seed, I got the Miami Heat. Eric Spoelstra head coaching them. They was an 8th seed team last season. I got them going up a spot this year. They extended Bam Adebayo, signed Alec Burks, re-signed Kalo, and add Jimmy Butler and trade rumors. So the Miami Heat team, in my opinion, they don't have that one bona fide bucket getter. You look at Jimmy Butler. Yeah, he can get you, a shot here, a shot there, But I'm talking about a bona fide bucket getter. I'm talking about a guy that you get a ball to that you know without a shot of a doubt he's gonna create something. You know, whether it is he's gonna make a play. Whether it is sucking in the defense, kicking it out to the shooter, or getting his own shot off, and doing his thing that way. So you look at the Miami Heat, they don't really have that. They just have a well-coached system by Eric Spoelstra down there, and they just got the guys down there that fit that system. They got a culture down there in Miami, and they got guys down there that fit within that culture, and they're not going outside of that. But Jimmy Butler name was been brought up in trade rumors or whatever. I heard some people talking about would the Golden State Warriors be willing to trade Kuminga for Jimmy Butler. You know, obviously there's going to be some other things involved in that, picks and maybe other players or whatever. But those two are the main two players involved that the trade is centered around. Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kuminga. I'm not sure that nothing. You know, that's just a rumor that I heard, or a possibility of something that might materialize during the season or whatever. But I think that's what Miami needs. Miami needs a surefire bucket getter. You know, that's probably why Dame was trying to get down there. Other than the Miami life, you know what I mean? That would have been a good fit for Dame in Miami. A guy that can get buckets. The Miami Heat is already a well-rounded defensive team. So, you know, it's not like they need another defensive guy. It wouldn't hurt them, but that's not what they need because they already play well-rounded team defense. So another guy that can come in and be more offensive and be a bucket getter like Dame Lillard, you know, would have made sense and been a good fit for Miami. And that's the type of bucket getter that they would need to go with them. So, you know, I got Miami finishing the 7th seed. Like I said, he finished 8th last year. Milwaukee, I got them finishing 8th. They were a 3rd seed last year. I know that's a big drop off from a 3rd seed finish last year to an 8th seed finish this year. They didn't really do much. All the other teams, in my opinion, you know, got better or they're younger. You know, Doc Rivers, this is going to be his first full season head coaching the Milwaukee Bucks. You know, he came in and took the place of Adrian Griffin. You know, like I said, they finished 3rd last year. They had some struggles last year with Doc Rivers, and that was, you know, Doc Rivers came in after the fact, but now Doc Rivers has a complete full year with the Milwaukee Bucks. It's too bad that the Milwaukee Bucks are getting older, while these other teams that I mentioned, they either gotten better with a move or they're younger and were good last year and gave Milwaukee trouble, such as the Indiana Pacers. You know, they don't have that star-studded player in Indiana like Milwaukee has in Giannis, but they gave the Milwaukee Bucks problems, not just in the playoffs, but they was giving the Milwaukee Bucks problems when they faced them in the regular season. So the Milwaukee Bucks, they're gonna have a few issues this year. Like I said, they signed DeLon Wright, they signed Taurean Prince, and they brought in Gary Trent, signed Gary Trent Jr. from Toronto. That was a nice signing, Gary Trent, that is. But I think the biggest issue with the Milwaukee Bucks gonna be is point of attack defense. Dame Lillard, because if you go back and look at Doc Rivers when he did win his chip in Boston, you know, he had Rondo as his point guard. Rondo was more of a facilitating defensive point guard, you know, and that's where Doc Rivers has been successful. You know, Doc Rivers wasn't successful when he had James Harden running the point in Philly, because James Harden is not a defensive guy, and he was just starting to really almost transition into being a point guard. Other than that, James Harden, when he was in Houston, was not facilitating. James Harden was getting buckets from the point guard position, but not facilitating. And, you know, we don't know what James Harden was able to do in Brooklyn because they didn't play enough. Then when he got to Philly, he tried to transition over to being the facilitating type of guy. And it did work to some degree, but he's not a defensive guy. And that's what Doc Rivers is going to need. I think that the Milwaukee Bucks would have benefited more from if they could have got their hands on a guy like a DeJounte Murray more than a Dame Lillard, you know, because they lost defensive presence at the point of attack when they lost Jrue Holiday. Damian Lillard is not gonna, you know, he's not gonna jump out there and stop the defense at the point of attack. So what's happening is the offense is getting down to the teeth of the Milwaukee Bucks defense. They're kicking it out and finding those open shooters because that point of attack defense from the point guard position is being broke down, and they sucking down into the teeth of that defense, and they kicking it out, and they find these shooters, or either they getting all the way to the rack and they finishing, you know, and it's compromising the defense. So I think that the issue is going to be Dame Lillard, not because he can't play, but I think his defense at the point of attack is not going to be what Doc Rivers needs. And like you said, you look at the other guys on this team, the Bobby Portises, the Chris Middletons, the Pat Connaughtons, those other guys, this team is getting older, and the point of attack defense, if it's getting broke down and it's compromising these other guys on their defensive assignments because they got to slide over and, rotate, that's going to be an issue for Milwaukee. That's why I got them falling so far from the 3rd seed to the 8th seed this season, because these other teams that I named ahead of them have guys that can get down into the teeth of the defense. And if they're not going to have point of attack defense, and I think that's probably why they signed 2 guys in Taurean Prince and DeLon Wright, and then went and signed another shooter in Gary Trent, because of what I just mentioned, but like I said, Milwaukee, in my opinion, after they lost Jrue Holiday, I think they could have benefited from a point guard, more of a DeJounte Murray type, a guy who can play defense and a guy who can give you 20 a game. And he's long, lengthy, he can facilitate as well. So that, in my opinion, would have been a better type of point guard to have in Milwaukee than what you got in Dame Lillard. And I think Dame Lillard would have been better fit down in Miami with a team that's already playing team defense and already have an identity and a culture, and they just need another score because they've already played good, solid team defense, and they already got a culture and an identity under Eric Spoelstra system that they run under. So, that's just me. That's what I think. That's why I got Milwaukee falling from a 3rd seed where they finished last year to an 8th seed where I'm projecting them to finish this year. 9th seed, the Atlanta Hawks. They were a 10th seed last year. Head coach Quinn Snyder, they traded away DeJounte Murray to the New Orleans Pelicans. They just extended Jalen Johnson to a 5-year, $150 million deal. They added Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance and some draft picks. That was a part of the trade to New Orleans with the DeJounte Murray trade to New Orleans. Those guys came back as part of that trade. And they also had the 1st overall pick in the draft, in which they drafted the guard forward Zachariah Richier, who I think is going to be who's going to fit nice. Now, if I am the Atlanta Hawks, you traded away DeJounte Murray, a point guard that you tried to make a 2 guard. Him and Trey just didn't work together. Neither one of those guys actually knew how to play off the ball because they were both natural point guards and they both needed the ball. And it just didn't work because there's only one ball to go around. So trading away DeJounte Murray, and then you get back Dyson Daniels, a defensive guy, not really a shooter. But if you look at the Hawks and you still have Bogdanovich there, Trey's there, you still got Hunter there, Jalen Johnson. So you're looking at some guys that can shoot the ball. You just need defense, and another guy that can naturally play alongside Trey in the backcourt. So they're banking on Jalen Johnson taking another step. They gave him a 5-year, $150 million extension. So, Jalen Johnson, who played well, 16 points a game last year, you're looking at him to be about 20 and 10 type guy. From here on, that's what you're looking at for him to take that next step and be that 20 and 10 type guy. And we already know what Trey going to give you. And if you Atlanta, you still have, in my opinion, some pieces that you can move. Like, they don't know what they're going to do with Clint Capella moving forward. You still have Onyeka Kagawa there. DeAndre Hunter there. So you have some young, and Kobe Buffkin. So you got some young guys, some young pieces that you could package up along with the picks that you receive from the New Orleans Pelicans if you want to try to get better coming up to the trade deadline. But they finished 10th last year as a play-in team. I got them just going up to the 9th spot. Not much movement for the Atlanta Hawks because they didn't really do much to really move the needle. Even though trading away DeJounte Murray, but what you got back in return is what you had to get back in return. So that's why I got the Atlanta Hawks finishing. Now, my surprise team in the Eastern Conference this year, and it's going to be a shocker to a lot of people, but I'm about to explain why. I think the Detroit Pistons could come in and finish the 10th seed and get that last play-in spot. Everybody know the Detroit Pistons last year was the worst team in the NBA. They finished the season 14-68. But they got JB Biggerstaff as the new head coach over there now. He was the former head coach of the Cleveland Cavs. And like I said a few minutes ago, I don't know why or what justified Cleveland getting rid of him, but he's no longer there. He's now in Detroit. They've added, they've extended Cade Cunningham 5-year, $224 million deal. They traded for Tim Hardaway Jr. They signed Tobias Harris, 2-year, $52 million deal. They signed Malik Beasley. They added Paul Reed, and they drafted Ron Holland with the 5th overall pick. So now, if you are the Detroit Pistons, you look how they were losing games, but they was a scrappy team. At the end of the day, a loss is still a loss. It don't matter what type of team you is, you lost. But the Detroit Pistons was a scrappy team. So now they went out and extended their best player, Cade Cunningham. They went out and added a shooter or some shooters, Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. They added Tobias Harris, a solid vet, and then they drafted a young guy, Ron Holland, with the 5th overall pick. So now I think JB Biggerstaff is looking at the Detroit Pistons the same way a lot of people was looking at the Detroit Lions. They weren't looking for him to do nothing. So now he's trying to bring an identity. He's trying to bring a culture. He's trying to bring a certain standard to Detroit to turn the Detroit Pistons around the same way Dan Campbell has turned the Detroit Lions around. So I think he's coming into the city and seeing what Dan Campbell has done with the Detroit Lions and just trying to do similar things with the Detroit Pistons. JB Biggerstaff was in the playoffs last year with the Cleveland Cavs. So, and he won the playoff series against the Orlando Magic. And if you go back and look at it, I think he pushed the Boston Celtics to 6 games. And there were a couple games where he didn't have all his players. I think there was a game or two where he didn't have what's the point guard? Darius Garland. And there was a couple games where he didn't have Donovan Mitchell. So he didn't have, it was one game, well, put it like this, it was games where he had one but not the other. So he didn't have, in that series, he did all he could do, and I think he still took, like I said, the Boston Celtics 6 games. So JB Biggerstaff, he's trying to instill some type of culture, identity in Detroit. Like I said, the same way Dan Campbell has came to Detroit and done it with the Detroit Lions. That's what I think JB Biggerstaff is trying to do here, because he already had some feisty, scrappy players there when he arrived. And now I think he came in and took the 5th overall draft pick, him and Trojan Lane, and they went and got Ron Holland with the 5th pick, an energetic young guy that's capable of getting you some buckets. And then you went out and then you signed veteran guys, and made deals for veteran guys, and you extended your best player. So I think they're trying to, that would be a huge step to go from being the worst team in the NBA last year. And I think they had one of the longest losing streaks in NBA history, if I'm not mistaken. Or if they didn't have it, they were damn near close to it. But I think they tied it, if I'm not mistaken. Or they may have had the longest losing streak in NBA history. But they had the worst record in the league last year, 14-68. That would be a huge step for them to go just in one season from having the worst record in the league to making the 10th seed and getting into the play-in. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win in the play-in and make their way into the playoffs, but that would be a huge step for the Detroit Pistons to go from being the worst team just last year to being a play-in team this year. You know what I mean? So that's my surprise team in the East to get into the play-in, the Detroit Pistons. And then you still got the Toronto Raptors, Charlotte Hornets, Chicago Bulls, Brooklyn Nets, Washington Wizards. I don't think those teams are going to do much of anything. I think if you had to take one of those teams that could possibly make their way up and be a surprise team, it will be the Toronto Raptors out of those remaining teams that I just named, because the Chicago Bulls, even though they traded away Alex Caruso, even though they traded for Josh Giddey, they got rid of Alex Caruso. They were trying to move to get Lonzo Ball back. They tried to move Zach LaVine, but no one was interested at the time in taking on Zach LaVine's contract with his injury history. It's just a matter of time before Vucevic get out of there for the right price. DeMar DeRozan is already gone. The Chicago Bulls, they're in sell mode. You know what I mean? They've already been trying to sell. They just been unsuccessful doing so with Zach LaVine. Those are my Eastern Conference standings. Let me get y'all my Western Conference standings. This right here, Western Conference, I got OKC finishing first in the Western Conference. They finished first last season. Like I just stated, they traded for Alex Caruso by getting rid of Josh Giddey. I think that was a brilliant move, because we seen last year in the playoffs how Josh Giddey was starting to get exposed defensively, and he had to get benched because his shooting went down. And he's getting exposed defensively. So they went out and traded Josh Giddey away for Alex Caruso. There was no picks or nothing involved. It was just a straight up trade, player for player. And I think that solved two things for Kansas City. I mean, not Kansas City. It's OKC. That solved the defensive issue that they were having in the playoffs from Josh Giddey, and that also Alex Caruso also can shoot the three ball. You know what I mean? He can shoot from the perimeter, in which Josh Giddey struggled in the playoffs to do that. So getting rid of Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso solved two things that they had issues with in the playoffs. It was perimeter shooting from Giddey and defensive exposure from Giddey. So they shored that up with one deal, and it didn't involve any picks. It was just player for player. They also signed Isaiah Hartenstein from the New York Knicks, 3-year, $87 million deal. This was, in my opinion, a pretty solid deal because they got a team option for the third year. So the first 2 years may go accordingly, and the first year go and the second year go. They got the control and they got the option, the team option to pick up the third year or not. You know what I mean? So they got flexibility with Hartenstein. The way Hartenstein played for the Knicks last year, I think that was a good signing for OKC, especially when they have a team option for the third year. Because guys like Isaiah Hartenstein is no shot at anybody. But you look at guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, and most people don't even know who he was. They don't even realize that Isaiah Hartenstein previously played for, I forget how many teams it was, but he had already previously been on NBA rosters. And last year was just the year that he was able to shine due to the injuries to the Knicks. And he took advantage of his playing time, and he now got rewarded with a 3-year, $87 million deal. So people looking at Isaiah Hartenstein and say, oh, well, he only did it 1 year because he was with the Knicks. Okay, cool. That's why they got the team option in OKC for the third year. Because the first 2 years, he can show and prove that he wasn't just a fluke in New York. If he comes out and performs the same way in these first 2 years that he did last year in New York, then they're more than likely going to pick up the team option, unless they got a better option of a player that comes along. But outside of that, I think it works out for OKC for what they did in the offseason. They still got Shai Gilgeous there, Chet Holmgren there. And when it's time to pay Chet Holmgren, they have flexibility with this third-year option from Isaiah Hartenstein. Like I say, what's my man's? I can't think his name now. The defender. I can't think his name. I had a brain freeze. There's a couple guys that I can't think of right now. OKC, because my mind is all over the place. But I got them finishing first in the West right now. They finished first last season. I got them finishing first again this season. The Minnesota Timberwolves, even though they lost last night to the LA Lakers, I'm still going to pick them to finish second in the Western Conference. They finished third last year. I got them finishing second this year. They, like I said, they traded Cat to New York. Hold up. Oh, my bad, folks. Sorry about that. But as I was saying, Minnesota Timberwolves, I got them finishing second. They finished third last year under head coach Chris Finch. They traded Karl Anthony to the Knicks. In return, they got Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, a first-round pick. I think they got more of a traditional power forward in Julius Randle, somebody who can also shoot the three ball. Dante DiVincenzo can give you buckets off the bench as needed, or he can come in as a starter. So you got flexibility with a guy that can give you buckets off the bench and can play within the rotation with the starters. And you also drafted Rob Dillingham, 8th overall pick, and you got a first-round pick out of the Karl Anthony Towns deal. So if you want to make a move, you still have that first-round pick in your back pocket that you got from the Knicks. Like I said, they drafted Rob Dillingham, who probably arguably one of the best shot creators that came out of this year's draft class. So they got him with the 8th pick, and they also drafted Terrence Shannon Jr., who lit up the Summer League. And I get it, it's Summer League, but he lit it up. You know what I mean? So I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, they understand who they are and what they are now. And I think they just extended Rudy Gobert as well. So they know their identity. They know who they are. They know they've established an identity of who they are and what they want to do. They were a damn good defensive team last year. I don't, if you can be that good of a defensive team with Karl Anthony Towns, I think that you might take a step back with Julius Randle, but you're not going to fall completely off. I think the anchor and the identity of that team, and they have a leader in that team and Ant-Man. So, with his level of intensity and the way he plays and the way he brings it every night, I think there's going to be guys that's going to pick up on that, and they set the tone and the standard for what it is when you come to Minnesota. So give me the Minnesota Timberwolves to finish second. Like I said, they finished third last year. They're just going to bump up a seed this year and finish second. The Denver Nuggets, I got them finishing third. I think the Denver Nuggets, a lot of their issues, in my opinion, that they had were from Jamal Murray's injury. I think Jamal Murray should be healthy now. When you have a healthy Jamal Murray with Jokic, and then you got Aaron Gordon, who they also extended, I think that's still a dangerous team. They lost Caldwell Pope to the Orlando Magic. They added Russell Westbrook. Like I said, they extended Jamal Murray a 4-year, $208 million deal, and extended Aaron Gordon 4-year, $133 million deal. So I think when you have a healthy Jamal Murray, that opens everything else up for what the Denver Nuggets like to do with Michael Malone. So, Jokic is going to be Jokic. That now can open up Michael Porter Jr. And I think that they still they need they need a little bit more depth. But I think they're gonna realize that if they ain't already realized, they're gonna realize it, and I think they're gonna do something, somehow, some way, do something to go out and get maybe another depth piece. Nothing major, just somebody that can come in and give them something to contribute depth wise, whether it's defensively or a 3-point specialist or something. They're gonna go out and do something. And I think the Denver Nuggets, with all pieces healthy, I think they could be the third seeds. They could be the third seeds in the West. They finished second last season, and I think they could be a third seed this year. Fourth seed, I got the Dallas Mavs head coach Jason Kidd. They finished fifth last season. They brought Klay Thompson over. They signed Spencer Dinwiddie. They traded for Quentin Grimes, and they also extended Jason Kidd, the head coach. Klay Thompson, I think Klay Thompson, in my opinion, I'm not sure if you can look at Klay Thompson and look at him right now as a splash brother, because he was struggling last year in Golden State, and so far in the preseason he struggled here in Dallas. But I think it's going to be one of them situations where they're going to find a role for Klay Thompson to be probably a six man. Because when you look at it, you got Luka Doncic doing his thing with Kyrie. Now those two have managed to learn how to play off of each other, and you saw where it got them last year. They got all the way there last year. They kind of learned how to bounce off each other and play off of each other. Kyrie and Luka, that is. So bringing in a Klay Thompson, I think he might be better fit at some point during this season. They're gonna move him to the bench to be the sixth man. He's still a threat to shoot it, but nobody's really looking at him like he struggled last year, and and that's part of the reason why the Golden State Warriors moved off of him, because of his struggles. And Golden State probably see themselves as a team that needs to still be flexible and open to make a move, because they're still trying to win something or be in contention to win something as long as Steph Curry's still there. So that was a move that they had to make, and I think that his struggles is going to kind of go off into the season, and I think they're going to find a role for him to be just a six man. And I think he might flourish off of just being a six man. And he hasn't been the same since coming back from those injuries, the Achilles and the ACL. He ain't been the same. So we just got to call it what it is, and that's just, if you got eyes and you've been watching and you've been looking, that I ain't lying about what I'm saying. I'm not talking shit about Klay or what I'm saying. It is what it is. A lot of people just not saying it that way, but it is what it is. Klay ain't been the same since those two injuries. And I think his role with this team, especially this team right here, that I got projected to finish as high as a fourth seed, and they finished fifth last year, that might be the best role for him. Is coming out, being a six man. I'm not saying don't play no minutes with starters. He's gonna play some minutes with starters, but he's gonna come off as a six man. He's gonna get minutes throughout the game with the starters on the floor, but I think at some point they're gonna find him. They're gonna move him to the bench, and he's gonna be the six man. So moving on, fifth seed team, I got the Sacramento Kings. Head coach Mike Brown, they were ninth seed last season. The Sacramento Kings last year, they had some injuries that dropped them down. I think they were much better. The season before that, they were better. And last year they had injuries, all throughout the season. And they still found themselves finishing ninth. They brought in DeMar DeRozan, actually traded for DeMar DeRozan. He's there. Davion Mitchell, they traded him to the Raptors. Harrison Barnes gone to the Spurs. Malik Monk returns. So you're going to have De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Sabonis. And then you're going to have Malik Monk in the mix. And then you still got Trey Lyles there. So, if you are the Sacramento Kings, you are in good shape. You know what I mean? You got a six-man candidate, Malik Monk, coming back from injury. You got a fiery coach in Mike Brown. So the Sacramento Kings, I think what dropped them last year to a ninth seed was just strictly injuries. They hit a wall where they was just getting injured. Kevin Huerter got injured. Malik Monk got injured. And then they had guys that kind of took a step back. But I don't think it's going to be the case this year, because I think if they come back fully healthy like they're supposed to, guys wouldn't necessarily have to step into roles that they're not, that really ain't their role. And this team is going to be, this team is going to be nice, in my opinion. They got a veteran presence in DeMar DeRozan there, a guy who can still get you some buckets, by the way. So it's not like you lost anything when you moved Davion Mitchell to Toronto or Harrison Barnes. You didn't lose anything offensively. You lost some defense with Davion Mitchell, but you got a veteran presence who can still get you some buckets, and DeMar DeRozan. So that was a nice move. So yeah, I got the Sacramento Kings finishing fifth. Like I said, it was a ninth seed last year. I got them fifth this year. Sixth seed, Memphis Grizzlies. I think Memphis is going to get back in the mix. The return of Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. And then you go out and draft the center Zach Edey out of Purdue. The Memphis Grizzlies, head coach by Taylor Jenkins, they did not make the playoffs last year. And we all know a big reason why. Ja Morant had a season-ending injury, and then Desmond Bane went down. So you look at Ja Morant coming back along with Desmond Bane. Then you got Jaren Jackson, who was in and out last year. Marcus Smart, G.G. Jackson, who played well when he was called upon to. Then you add Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark. You add some of those guys to the mix. I think this is a team that's going to be back off and running with Ja Morant returning at 100%. So give me the Memphis Grizzlies to get in there at that 6 seeds. And like I said, they didn't get in the mix last year because of the injuries they had to Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. But I think they'll be back to a 6 seed this year. This is a deep and tough Western Conference, by the way. It's going to be some good teams that's going to be left out of here. The Phoenix Suns, I got them finishing 7th. They really didn't do much because, they got so much tied up in KD, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal that they really can't do much. I think they added Monte Morris. Mike Budenholzer is the coach over there now. They finished as a 6 seed last year. I got them dropping back to a 7 seed this year. Like I said, man, the West is tough. I think those other teams, young teams, those are teams that can get up and down the floor. Even though these teams right here, even though the Phoenix Suns have a veteran head coach and Mike Budenholzer, who's come from that Greg Popovich tree, who's done well and been successful at the previous places he's been. Matter of fact, he won a chip in Milwaukee. So I think this is good for Phoenix, but you gotta factor in, Bradley Beal, is he healthy? And then you got two of the same players, in my opinion, in Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. Both of those guys are just bona fide shooting guards. Those are shooting guards. Those are the type of those are prototypical. Those are shooting guards. I don't think either one should be playing the point or the three. They should both be playing. They're bona fide shooting guards. I think that if you are the Phoenix Suns, I think you would have benefited more from calling the Atlanta Hawks and trying to make a deal for DeJounte Murray, who's a pure point guard, and that's what they need And if you were Atlanta, you needed a more of a pure shooting guard to go along with Trey. Now, I get it. It was going to be hard to make that move, and you probably was going to be damn near impossible to do it because Bradley Beal, no trade clause, meaning he would have to sign off on the trade, and I don't think he would have signed off on going to Atlanta. And if you're Bradley Beal, I don't think the Phoenix Suns, who drafted not drafted Bradley Beal, but Devin Booker. Bradley Beal has no trade clause, so he had to sign off on it. Devin Booker was drafted by Phoenix, so he was there during the good, bad, and the ugly. He was there when they went to the finals with Chris Paul. He was there when they drafted him and were going through the ugly phases. And he's a player that you see where he came from to where he's at now. So I don't think that we're going to be willing to part ways with him. I don't think DeJounte Murray would have been enough for the Phoenix Suns to move off of Devin Booker to get DeJounte Murray, but that would have been a nicer fit. DeJounte Murray over there with somebody like Booker or Bill and KD. More of a pure point guard and facilitator would have fitted that system more, and then Atlanta needed more of a shooting guard to go alongside with Trey. So, but it didn't happen. But that's just what I thought would have been a better scenario here because they got their hands tied in those three players. There's not much movement they can do. They got so much tied up in KD, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. There's not much movement they can do. But I got them finished as a 7 seed. Last year they finished as 6 seed. So you just got to worry about injuries with those players. KD, injuries here and there, and then Bradley Beal injuries. So I got the Phoenix Suns finished 7th. 8th coming in with the New Orleans Pelicans. They made the trade for DeJounte Murray. So you look at you've now seen what Zion can do when he plays a majority healthy season. So I think they've now felt comfortable with the Pelicans being Zion's team. I think that trading for DeJounte Murray, a point guard, now you got Murray, McCollum, a guy that plays the 1 and a guy that plays the 2. CJ McCollum is not a point, and he's back to playing his natural 2. And I think that DeJounte Murray is a 1. He's not a 2. So now you got the 1-2 backcourt that's not going to overstep on each other's toes, because they're now playing their natural positions. And then you still got Ingram in your back pocket that you can shop. I think that's going to be the big X factor with this team. It's like they can get better because they still have Brandon Ingram that they can move. Zion, we've seen what he can do when, play a majority healthy season. And then Daniel Theis, is a filler at the 5, which I think they could probably go and get better at the 5. Well, I ain't gonna say I know they can go and get better at the 5. And you still got Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and Jose Alvarado on your roster. So this New Orleans Pelican team is this Western Conference is so deep, boy. If the New Orleans Pelicans was in the East, they would be higher than the 8th seed. It's just that the Western Conference is so talented and so deep that a good team like the Pelicans, I got them being 8th. But if they were an Eastern Conference team, I would have them higher than 8. They might be up there as a 5th seed or something in a 5th seed in the East. You know what I mean? So possibly a little bit higher. But the New Orleans Pelicans, I got them finishing 8th. The Golden State Warriors, it's a toss up for these last 3. It's a toss up, but the 9th, just something about the Golden State Warriors. They finished 10th last year. I got them finishing 9th this year. They traded Klay Thompson. He's out. I just don't think what they added is going to move the needle. They added DeAnthony Melton, Kyle Anderson, and Buddy Hield. I don't think that's enough to move the needle. But what I do think is they haven't extended Kuminga. So maybe it is a trade or something in the works for Kuminga. Maybe they are, getting these pieces right here, the Meltons and the Kyle Anderson and the Buddy Hills, to add with a Kuminga to try to move and make a deal. Because I think the Golden State Warriors, the ship is sinking out there in the Bay. And I think you got to do whatever it is you got to do while you got Steph Curry to be in contention to win. And, Klay Thompson is gone. Draymond still there, but Draymond is not Draymond of 4-5 years ago, you don't want to waste Steph Curry's, the back end of Steph Curry, doing this. So it's kind of something about the only reason I don't have them out is because something tells me that they're going to make a move with Kuminga, being a move centered around Kuminga to get another piece or pieces in there to help them compete in the West. So as of now, I got them as a 9th seed. They finished 10th seed last year. Steve Kerr still coached them. So, that's why I got them 9th seed this year after finishing 10th last year. Now, this is tough because, like I said at the beginning, the LA Lakers are going to need Anthony Davis to pretty much be the number one. And the way he played last night, they're going to need him to play like that consistently on a night in, night out basis. And if he can do that, I don't know. If he can, this is what the Lakers will be as a 10th seed. If not, the surprise team that I got coming up in here that could knock the Lakers out of the playoffs if they don't do what I just said they need to do. Because I think a lot of emphasis is going to be on putting Bronny in the game with Bron. That's what the people want to see. And I think they're going to get so wrapped up and so caught up in doing that it's going to cost them some games. And I think it's going to be a sneaky team that come up. The surprise sneaky team that I think can come up will be the Houston Rockets. Because if you go back and look at last season, the Houston Rockets caught fire at the end of the season, and they damn near knocked the Golden State Warriors out, and they almost made it into the playoffs. They finished the season 11th last year, 41-41. Ime Udoka, you look at the roster, they extended Jalen Green. They drafted Reed Shepard, 3rd overall pick out of Kentucky. They already had Fred VanVleet there. Like I said, extending Jalen Green. They got Dillon Brooks. They got Jabari Smith. They got the center that a lot of people don't talk about, which is underrated in Sagoon. Reed Shepard, who they just drafted. Cam Whitmore, a guy who, in my opinion, could start on some teams in the league. One of the Thompson twins, Amen Thompson, who's an athletic defender. And they got Steven Adams. So they have everything that Ime Udoka, and I think Ime Udoka is a risk taker. I think Ime Udoka is one of them guys that's going to go after and get it because he also comes from the Popovich tree. And you saw what he did with the team he had in Boston before the situation came and they had to let him go. And he ends up with Houston Rockets. And Ime Udoka, if you've been paying attention, I think they already were rumored to try to make a blockbuster trade or deal this summer. So they've already tried to move some of these young pieces and get a star player in there. And I think it's just a matter of time before they pull it off. Because the way this team is constructed now, they have a mixture of everything that you probably would want from an Ime Udoka type of coach. You have tough guys. Not that I'm saying that one's just willing to fight, but you got tough guys that's willing to do the dirty work, and Dillon Brooks, and you got guys that's not going to be getting pushed around like Steven Adams. So you got that to go along with some young athletic guys and Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Jalen Green. And now you got a shooter in Reed Shepard, and you just got a guy that shows up, an underrated center that can give you probably 20 and 10 on a given night in Sagoon. And then you have a guy that just shows up and do what he's supposed to do. And he has championship pedigree as well in Fred VanVleet, who can also drop off some buckets. You know what I'm saying? So you got a team of guys that you could get in the play-in with because you almost did it last year with the exception of drafting Reed Shepard. Everybody else was there already. Steven Adams, minus Steven Adams and Reed Shepard. Those guys were already there, and you finished the season 41-41, and you damn near got in the play-in. It was just a couple games you lost down the stretch of the season that you probably should have won that would have made the difference in whether you get into the play-in or not. And you damn near did it with Ime Udoka in the roster minus Reed Shepard and, at Steven Adams. You finished the season at 500, you damn near did it. So I think that they could go in. They have pieces that they could move to get better. And I think this could be another year coached under Ime Udoka, adding Reed Shepard, a shooter. This right here could be a team that could low-key get in the play-in. This could be a team, in my opinion, is the surprise pick to get in, and that could knock the Lakers out because I think that for the Lakers to get in, the way Anthony Davis played last night, he's going to have to consistently play this way throughout the season and allow LeBron to just take a backseat and be the number 2 option instead of being the number 1 option, being the leader and the carrier of the team. If they can't get that type of production consistently throughout this season and get Anthony Davis to stay relatively healthy throughout the season and give this type of production consistently throughout the season, the LA Lakers will not make the playoffs because I think the LA Lakers right now are emphasizing and pushing this Bronny James and LeBron James father-son, first-time ever type duo in the NBA. They're pushing this narrative, and they're going to, as the season goes, they're going to continue to give more minutes to Bronny and give the people what they want to see. And as a result of that, I think they're going to lose some games that they should win And teams like the Houston Rockets are going to sneak up, and before you know it, they're going to be knocking on the door. And down the stretch of the season, when the LA Lakers see how urgent it is, a team like the Houston Rockets are going to be them caught fire, and they're going to be the team that jumps over the Lakers and knock them out, because so much emphasis was going to be put on the Bronny and LeBron father-son duo and getting them playing together. And then you got, in my opinion, a puppet head coach and JJ Redick over there. That's why he got the job, because he had the podcast with LeBron, and he's a yes man, so to speak. That's why I forget his name, head coach at UConn. That's why he turned it down. He seen the shit show. He seen the writing on the wall that was going to happen. So he turned that down, returned back to UConn, and I think that JJ Redick was the guy all along. They just wanted to kind of shake things up by getting this dude. I don't think this dude was ever going to take the job. I think this dude just took the interview out of respect, because I think he seen the shit show that was going on, and he respectfully declined. So that kind of led them to follow through with their plans of hiring JJ Redick. And I think that's going to be the reason that the Lakers probably won't make the playoffs unless they go out and say, to hell with it. We're going to try to package some guys up and go and get a guy that's going to come in and help us compete. And they probably already tried to do that and was unsuccessful doing that, because I don't think nobody was looking at Austin Reeves as having high trade value. D'Lo is having high trade value. Hachimura is having high trade value. Jared Vanderbilt having high trade value. Gabe Vincent, high trade value. I don't think nobody was looking at Cam Reddish and the rest of these guys as having high trade value. So they probably wasn't able to pull off the type of deal and move to get the type of guy that they wanted. So, in my opinion, I think that's what's going to hurt the Lakers because there's going to be a lot of spotlight on emphasizing on JJ Redick, incorporating more minutes for Bronny to be on the floor with LeBron James. And as a result, it's going to cost them some games that they should win. And a team like the Houston Rockets is going to sneak in. That's my surprise pick in the West to make the play in. The Houston Rockets make it in and knock the LA Lakers out if Anthony Davis don't play consistently and remain healthy throughout. He has to play consistently like he did last night. He has to play that way consistently throughout the season and stay healthy. And he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So that's going to be a big question mark for the Lakers. So that's why I got the Houston Rockets as my surprise team to slide in there and get that last play-in spot. But that's my time, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe these videos, this information that I'm getting out to y'all, man. Head on over to the platforms, the social media platforms, YouTube, subscribe, like the content, hit the notification bell so you can get notified when new content releases. You can follow me on these platforms. It's scrolling down at the bottom of your screen. If you want to follow me personally on IG, it's Ralph_Sneaks. If you want to follow the sports page, it's damn_U2_sports talk. And I'm on X as well at damn U2 sports talk. To the next episode, man, I appreciate y'all. Peace.